Buckle up, everyone. You are strapped in and ready for Insurance Hour with me, your host, Karl Susman. Informing, educating, and entertaining, one policy at a time. This is Insurance Hour. Hello. This is Insurance Hour with me, your host, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here today and learning about your favorite topic and mine, insurance. Phone lines are open for your questions. Go ahead and give us a call at 559-656-0317. You can also text that number or send us an email to questions@insurancehour.com. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. We've got a question and answer show for you today. I will interrupt all of these questions for the live calls that might be coming in while we're talking. But meanwhile, I'm going to spend today going through emails that you sent. We've got quite a few of them. There are a lot of new changes going on in the insurance industry. California specifically has one of the first large-scale regulation changes that is now in place on the books. Carriers are working to feverishly comply with those regulations. More on that a little bit later on. For right now, I want to jump into the first email that I have, and we will do our best to answer these questions for you. First question is, let's see. I'm about to take a few months off work to deal with a medical condition. I'm worried about how my time away and lack of paycheck might affect my protection. Could there be gaps in coverage? Is there a type of policy I can buy to help me with this? It's a great question. So in the United States in general, health insurance is usually coming from an employer as a benefit. And I believe that's what this person is talking about specifically when they're talking about protections, things like that. So if you have health insurance and it's on an employer's plan, you're on a group plan, then if you take time off, you have to talk with your employer and find out, am I going to be able to maintain the policy that I have in force right now while I'm taking time off? I'm not sure by this email if it's paid time off, if it's some type of personal time off or a furlough or what exactly it is. But the first thing you want to do is check with your employer, check with their human resources department, if you will. Find out what are the options to keep the existing policy that you have in force. If it turns out for one reason or another that you are not able to maintain that policy, then you might want to find out if you can maintain it through COBRA. COBRA, you've probably heard of it. That's an organization. Actually, it stands for something. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's going to permit you to maintain your group coverage even if the policy is not specifically designed to do that. There are some additional costs that are involved in it, and you do have to work through your employer or through their third-party administrator in order to maintain that policy. Finally, if for whatever reason you need to obtain health insurance on your own, then depending on if this is considered a qualifying event, then because of the Affordable Care Act, you may be able to apply to get coverage that way. I am not personally aware of any particular type of insurance policy other than a health insurance policy that you can purchase for a period of time between health insurance policies. And I think that's what you were asking for, sort of a gap policy. Not aware of those. Typically, you'll need to actually be on a health insurance plan to have health insurance. There's not anything that you can get sort of in that in-between time period. Thank you for that question. Let's get to the next one. It says, I've started therapy sessions for stress and the cost is adding up. I'm trying to figure out if my current plan helps with mental health expenses. Lots of information about physical injury, blah, 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 but nothing about emotional wellness. Is there a typical approach or what should I be looking for? Oh, great question. Most health insurance plans do separate benefits for physical and non-physical types of benefits. And that's starting to change a little bit over time. We're starting to see that as not being the case, but for the most part, you'll still see that. Now, you mentioned two things. You talked about mental health and then you talked about health and wellness. And those are even carved out a little bit in some sense. So if you're talking about needing to go to a therapist, or you're talking about needing to go to a psychiatrist, which is an MD, or you're talking about trying to get medication for some type of a condition like that, then most health insurance plans do have benefits for that. Now, when you say wellness, to me, what that sounds like is you're talking about something to try and prevent yourself from needing assistance later. Maybe it's something preventative. Oddly enough, health insurance plans are not quite as generous when it comes to obtaining coverage to prevent you from having a claim. It does seem a little bit backwards because you think it would be less expensive to be able to prevent you from needing a psychiatrist and expensive medication than it would be to wait till you need it and then having to pay for it. But I digress. That's not typically the way the plans are working. So you need to check your exact plan, see what those options are that are on there, see if it turns out that you have benefits for either or both and what they are. Also keep in mind that you're talking about potentially going to either a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something other than that, like a marriage and family counselor. These are all different license types, and the benefits that your health insurance carrier will pay will differ depending on which of those designations, if you will, the physician treating you has. This is not terribly uncommon. Carriers have always looked and they've paid more for more education, I guess you could say. So someone that's an MD would typically get paid more money for the same job than someone that has an MFT, let's say. Not saying that's necessarily a good thing, especially because a lot of times physicians, MDs, don't get down and dirty with a lot of the treatment. They have people that do that work, and they are what are called medication maintaining professionals, if you will. So it's a little bit complicated, but again, just the takeaway should be that you do need to be aware that benefits will differ depending on what type of a health professional you're seeing. Again, one might specialize in the actual counseling. One might specialize in helping you get into a facility. There might actually be coverage for facilities. Then you have to carve that out. Some facilities are inpatient and outpatient. There's also something called intensive outpatient or IOP. That might have a separate benefit. You could actually look at that potentially as being some type of a preemptive model as well, because intensive outpatient centers will help people before they get to the point where they need to be hospitalized. So you could look at that as being something that the carriers are in fact offering that can be used before things get really dicey and you might need to have extremely expensive care, multiple healthcare providers. And finally, keep in mind again that to be able to get paid to have all of these different physicians, you'll need to be sure that you're either checking for doctors that are on your health insurance plan, and if not, be prepared that you're going to be receiving benefits for an out-of-network provider, which is significantly less than providers that are within the plan. A lot to unpack there. We're going to take our first quick break. When we come back, we're going to get to more of your emails. Meanwhile, go ahead and give us a call or shoot us a text to 559-656-0317. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Karl Susman, going through your emails, helping you learn everything you need to know about insurance. Hopefully, we will be back in 60 seconds. Stand by. Let's talk about earthquakes for a minute. Look, we know we live in earthquake country here in California. Powerful, devastating earthquakes have happened here before, and science says that they will happen again. They can't tell us exactly when, they can just tell us that it is going to happen. Count on it. Prepare for it. Did you know that earthquakes are not covered by your homeowner's insurance policy? You need a separate policy to give you the peace of mind that you will be able to recover without getting financially wiped out the next time we get hit with a big one. There's a great company here in California that will provide you with earthquake coverage you need at a price you can afford. That company is GeoVera. I have a policy through GeoVera. I really like how easy it is to choose from all of their great coverage options, backed by the financial strength that lets me know that they will be here for me when I need them the most. Go to getquake.com/insurance hour to learn more. That's getquake.com/insurance hour. Make sure you're ready for the day when the ground shakes again. Hello. This is Insurance Hour. I am your host, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here today. We are talking about all things insurance related. I know your favorite topic. These are important things that you need to know. Insurance is not like it used to be. It's not so simple. It's not so cut and dry. One policy is not going to always be anything similar even to another. So I appreciate you spending time with us today, taking the time to learn a little bit more about how insurance works, asking your specific questions so that you can be more educated and hopefully get better bang for your buck. Phone lines are open for your questions. Give us a call at 559-656-0317. You can call or text that number, or shoot an email over to questions@insurancehour.com, and I will take those questions and answer them. Make sure you let me know also, do you want me to read your question on the air, or do you want me just to get back to you with an answer get back to you with an answer to your question. Either way, I'm happy to help. Also, before I move forward, I do want to thank our sponsor today, GeoVera Insurance Company. As you can imagine, as a broker for over 30 years, I could get my insurance pretty much wherever I want. And all of the insurance carriers want to have their brokers insure with them so that they can say, hey, I have my policy there, therefore you should too. I have had my personal earthquake insurance with GeoVera for decades. So I can tell you that I selected them because they have the best options, they have the best price, and they are going to be there in the event of a claim. They have substantial financial backing, and I am comfortable enough that I have my own insurance there. So I wanted you to know that. GeoVera Insurance Company, thank you again for your sponsorship. Back to our emails. Let's see what the next question is that we have coming in. Remember, I have not read these up front, and I do that deliberately because I do want to read these and understand them and interpret them with you. I don't want to do a lot of work beforehand and then have all these sort of cookie cut answers ready to go. This way you get the more live answer. So let's go on to the next one. It says, we own a small family farm with a few animals and a big garden. I'm not running a full-scale business, but we do sell produce at a local market. Is there a special way to protect the property and our livelihood if something goes wrong? Questions? Okay. This is an interesting one. Now, there are policies that let's work backwards. Your homeowner's insurance policy is not, NOT, going to provide coverage for you if you're doing any type of agricultural work. They're not designed for that. You need to have a specific policy that's going to cover you for that type of thing. Remember, homeowners insurance policies are on sort of a chassis, right? Sort of a basic fundamental framework. And that framework is for the majority of people. The majority of homes, how they look, how they interact, how they work, if there's a structure and there's personal property, things like that, what those items might be. Farming is a totally different animal. Ba-dum, boom. Can we add that little rim shot in there? Farming is a different animal. Okay, well, we'll see if we get that handled. Anyway, so I wanted you to be aware that if you are doing any type of agricultural work, you want to be sure that you turn around and have a farm policy. Now, there are other things like you're describing in this email where it's not a full-fledged farm. It might be what we call a hobby farm. Now, a hobby farm has not a specific definition. Every insurance carrier that writes policies for this has sort of a different definition, a different trigger for what's considered a farm, a hobby farm, and a non-either one, right? So you'll want to check with your insurance agent or broker to find out where you might fall in. But in general, hobby farms are similar to the way this email is described, which is they're not doing a ton. It's not a full farm. They don't have tons and tons of animals, but they are harvesting something and they are selling it to some extent, right? Now, the email is a little bit confusing to me because they're saying that they do sell some of their items at a local market, but then later, which makes it sound small, but then they say they need protection to protect their livelihood, which makes it sound like they're probably collecting more than just a few bucks for that, or this might be a large part of their income. So again, I get it. These are just emails people are sending in and they might be a little unclear, but be sure when you talk to your agent or broker, you are clear because those types of differences are going to have an impact on what you qualify for and what type of a policy you get. Let's go on to the next question. It says, hello, my neighbor was a victim of a data breach and it really hit me home. I'm curious if standard plans cover this and do I need a separate policy? This is a great question. We are starting to see data breaches happening with some regularity. I think by now we've all received at least one letter that says, hey, your data was involved in some breach and it might be gone, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, I would like to tell you that if you receive a letter that says your data may have been leaked, chances are your data has been leaked, right? Now, when a company has some type of an intrusion and they have a data breach, the reason you're getting that letter that says may have been, because at the stage that you're receiving that letter, which is supposed to be very soon after the breach is known, they might not know the extent of how much data was taken. That's why it's saying might be. So it's a good idea to assume that if you're getting that letter, the chances are once they do their work, they're going to find, in fact, that you were a part of that breach. Now, what can you do? You do need to purchase individual cyber insurance policies. They do exist. Some homeowners insurance policies will actually have sort of an add-on for cyber risks, things like identity theft, things like passwords being stolen, bank accounts being hacked into, things like that. But in general, they tend to be relatively restricted. So there are very few companies out there now that are writing a standalone, meaning it's not something that goes on a group plan or something along those lines, cyber insurance policy. We actually do have them. I actually do offer them through the one or two carriers that do. But in general, this is not going to be the type of thing where you're going to be able to just jump online and find a company that writes you a cyber insurance policy. They just aren't around for individuals yet. Groups, yes. You might be able to talk to your employer, find out if they have a group plan that you can be added to for cyber protection. But in general, it is a little more difficult to obtain cyber insurance as an individual than it is to be added on to a group policy. So the answer to your question is yes, there are policies that can help provide you with coverage for this, that can not only assist you in the funds that are necessary, but they'll actually turn around and assign a caseworker to help you through the process, kind of like a claims adjuster. But instead of just being involved with how much you get reimbursed for some type of a loss, they'll become proactive in trying to help you regain your identity, which sounds a little bit odd. But if you can imagine walking into your own bank and them saying, well, we don't know if it's you or it's someone pretending to be you. And you're saying, well, this is me. But believe it or not, it can get a little bit complicated and it can get very dicey. So in the event that there is some type of a loss that you have like this, having an advisor that deals with this continually definitely is a major advantage. Huge. I mean, I'm talking about being worth 2, 3, 4 times what it is to just have somebody write you a check in the event that there's a loss. Let's talk a little bit more about that after the break. This is Insurance Hour with me, your host, Karl Susman, answering your questions today. We will be back in 60 seconds and we'll talk some more about cyber insurance. Stand by.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just a few moments, the Window to the Magic podcast show will begin.
My name is Patrick.
My name is Calvin.
I'm Mouseketeer Gray.
My name is Paul, and I will be your guide through the wonderful world of Disney sound experiences.
This show is a weekly trip into the world of the Disney theme parks and resorts.
And this is the place where you get to use your ears to surround yourself with the magic.
For your safety, please remain seated while listening to the windowtothemagic.com podcast.
Maybe there's a name for this, something like Disnotic obsession. Please visit windowtothemagic.com for more information, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts and in the iHeartMedia app.
Hello. This is Insurance Hour with your host, me, Karl Susman. Thank you so much for being here today. We are talking all things insurance. We're answering your questions. We're educating you. We are doing everything we can to help you become a more informed consumer or agent or broker so that you can better utilize your insurance products and find out what it is you need. Be sure you have it and be sure you utilize it to its fullest. We are phone lines open, 559-656-0317. You can call or text that number. You can also send an email to questions@insurancehour.com. We will answer those questions. We will answer your emails. We will respond to your text messages. We will listen to your voicemails. We will just do it all because that's what we love to do. We love insurance. We are insurance nerds. What can I tell you? So let's get right back to your questions. Actually, I take it back. I promised you before the break we were going to talk a little bit more about cyber insurance. What is cyber insurance? Cyber insurance, as a general scope, will handle any type of loss that you have that has to do with your computer or some type of electronic device being compromised. Now, this might be somebody that is hacking your password and logging into your bank and transferring money out. This might be some type of identity theft. This might be your computer getting a virus or ransomware. These are all things that would fall under a cyber type of loss. And I highly, highly recommend that you look around and get coverage for cyber because it is going to be, mark my words, you are going to be hearing more about this as time goes on. This is going to become the most expensive and the most common type of claim. So right now, stop. Make a note to yourself, make a mental note, jot down a note on a little sticky note, whatever it is. find out about cyber insurance. A very, very important thing to have. If you take nothing else away from the show today, cyber insurance. That should be your takeaway. All right, now we will get back to the questions. Let's see what we have here. It says, I've been doing some home renovations and borrowed a ton of tools from my friend. If they get lost or damaged while I'm using them, is there any coverage under my plan? It's a great question. There's something called care, custody, and control. And it's a legal term more than an insurance term. And again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to cross that line. But in general, when you're borrowing something from someone, you typically will have some level of coverage on your personal insurance policy for that. Now, when you're saying damaged, what does that mean? Does that mean you broke the tool? Because there might be different types of coverage that's available if you damage something versus if it's stolen, right? Let's just say that you've got a garage full of tools. Half of them belong to your next door neighbor. Somebody breaks into your garage and steals it. There might be one type of coverage available for that, one set of limits, versus if you're, using a saw and you break the saw in half because, you're like me and don't know how to use tools, then there might be a different type of coverage or not available. So check with your individual insurance policy. Find out what type of coverage you have for borrowed equipment. Keep in mind also, it is going to be predicated on if you're borrowing this for a fee or just borrowing it in general. These are nuances, but they can make a difference in what type of coverage is triggered. If you borrow something, you might have coverage. If you pay for it, you might not, or vice versa. So hopefully that helps you with that. Let's get on to the next question. It says, I'm thinking of renting out my spare bedroom for short-term stays to make some extra money. However, a friend said I might need extra coverage. Do I need that? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. First, I have to ask, and this is more of a personal question. Do you think that it's safe to rent out a room in the house you're living in while you're there? I don't know. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I feel like I don't know that I'd want to have just a random stranger in my house. I don't know. Arguably better that you're there than just renting out your house and not knowing what they're doing. Okay, I guess there's an argument for that. But personally, I just can't imagine wanting to just open up my house to a stranger on a daily basis or nightly basis. It just strikes me as odd. But I do understand that this is happening and people are doing this. And the answer is yes. You do need to get a special type of insurance policy to cover you for this. You may either be able to get an add-on to your existing insurance policy, or you might actually have to purchase a different insurance policy altogether. Now, let's keep something else in mind. What are we talking about? Well, what if you say, well, you know what? I don't care. I'll just take my own chances if something happens. But keep in mind that your existing homeowner's insurance policy likely has exclusions for losses that happen if you've actually rented out part of the house, and that does count if it's a room, you are renting that out for a fee. So while you might say to yourself, well, you know what, I'm not too worried, what's he going to do to the one bedroom? But what if he sets fire to the whole house? You may have exclusions in your policy that would mean that if a loss is happening because of proximate cause, because it happens because of something that's not covered under the policy, you might not have coverage at all. So it's not just the exposure that you're not taking on by not having an insurance policy. The policy you have may in some portion be null and void if losses occur based on uncovered things like that. So yes, you do want to get coverage for something like that. And keep in mind also that it's not just a matter of the coverage you're getting for those losses, but you want to be sure that you're not sacrificing any of your existing coverage by having somebody renting a room in your house. Okay? This one, it means a little bit of time. Take some time, talk to somebody, talk to your insurance professional to find out what the best way is to go forward and if it even makes sense financially. Next one, this is from Carla. She says, my fiance and I are planning a big wedding, and someone mentioned there's a type of coverage to get in case something goes wrong, like a vendor not showing up or weather issues, Okay. Oh, she ruined my fun. When she said something goes wrong, I was going to make some sarcastic comment about weddings or getting married in general, but I won't. Hey, I'm married for 31 years. I can make those comments, so you can just take that. Yes, there are policies called wedding insurance policies. I know, very clever name for it. And they can, in fact, indemnify you if certain things like that happen, like if it's an outdoor wedding and it rains and there has to be changes that are made to the venue, things like that. As far as vendors not showing up, typically vendors will have insurance. Hopefully you're selecting vendors that have insurance. You don't want to just select someone that doesn't have a policy. That's always not a good idea. That sounds wrong. How about that is simply always a bad idea. Always look for vendors that have their own insurance policy. But yes, it is a good idea in the event that you are spending some serious cash on a wedding that you do have wedding insurance. And I know it's annoying. It's like, well, what else do I need to get insurance for? I have to get insurance for a wedding. Yeah, well, anytime you're in a position where you're forking out a lot of money on something, it's always a good idea to say, at least review the option of doing something to protect yourself, to protect that investment. Heck, you buy tickets for a concert these days. You can even buy a little insurance policy in the event you get sick and can't go, right? You can buy insurance anywhere for the most part to protect money that you are laying out, which is a good thing. You just have to decide what your individual risk tolerance is, whether it makes sense to buy a policy or not. Guess what? It is that time again. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, more of your questions. This is Insurance Hour. I am Karl Susman. 60 seconds, and we'll be back to your emails.
Have you been dropped by your insurance agency or seen your premiums skyrocket? Susman Insurance is here to help. We're a family-owned and operated insurance agency that's been serving our community for 2 generations. At Susman Insurance, we know how stressful it can be to find the right coverage, especially when prices go up or you're left without insurance. That's why we're committed to finding you competitive rates, whether it's for fire, home, earthquake, flood, auto insurance, you name it. We've got you covered. Give us a call or send a text to 310-820-5200 or visit us online at sussmaninsurance.com. Plus, stay updated on all things insurance by joining our text group. Just text 567-4CARL with a K. That's 567-367-5275 to get the latest updates straight to your phone. Susman Insurance, your family's insurance solution.
Hello. This is Insurance Hour. I am Karl Susman, your host. Thank you so much for being here and spending some time learning about insurance today. It's my favorite topic. It might not be yours, but you're here because you know it's important that you have some more understanding about the way insurance works today. It is, as I like to say, this is not your grandfather's insurance policy. Things are different. They are more complicated than they used to be, and it is more important now than ever. More important now than ever. Why I'm having trouble speaking today. That we pay attention and we understand some more fundamentals, and even more so if necessary. We are answering your questions today. Give us a call at 559-656-0317. You can call that number or send a text. If there's no one picking up the phone, leave us a voicemail, leave your question there. We will get to that as well. Or if you're the emailing type, shoot us an email to questions@insurancehour.com. Are you ready? Let's get back to it. This next question is from Steven. He says, we are relocating for a new job and driving all of our belongings across 3 states. I believe my plan covers my house and my car, but do I need something special for moving? This is a great question. I love this question. I wish more people knew about this. All right. This is a general concept that I tell people. That an insurance policy is going to cover the things that the policy says. If you change things, it doesn't create additional coverage just because you've changed something. The policy is what the policy is. Now, let me explain how this pertains to moving. If you're going to be loading up all of your stuff in a truck and you're paying a company, let's say, and they take all your stuff away, and let's just say it's a bumpy road, or while the movers are lifting stuff up, they break things. It's a disaster. That doesn't all of a sudden mean that you have coverage on your home for someone dropping a vase, if that's what happens, or for somebody breaking a mirror, bad luck, or for something like that happening. If it's not on the policy the day before you move, it doesn't all of a sudden happen because you are moving. I don't know how else to say that, but understand that the policy remains the same. If breakage is not covered under your policy, it doesn't all of a sudden become covered because you've moved. If theft is covered, but only up to 10% of your property if it's away from your home, and somebody's moving your things and they disappear with all of your stuff, it's still just going to be 10% away from your home, even though it is your home. It's not going to be all of your stuff. Again, the contract with the insurance company doesn't change because your circumstances do. So here's how we deal with moving. It's tough. It is tough. First thing you want to do is be sure that you do in fact have and purchase the insurance from the rental moving company. Now, I say that and I want to put a big asterisk. Don't assume it's great insurance because typically it's not. And the coverage you're going to get is usually by the pound, literally the pound. They're going to say, well, if something breaks and it weighs X pounds, then we're going to pay X dollars for it. And you might say, whoa, wait a second. Some things are a lot more expensive and they're light and vice versa. What does the weight have to do with it? And I would say, you're right. I didn't tell you these are good policies. I just said that most of the policies that movers have are not what we would like them to be, unfortunately. But they're better than nothing. So you want to purchase the insurance policy from the moving company. And you want to find out what options you have. Some of them will give you the ability to list certain very expensive items and be sure that they have special coverage. Some of them will give you sort of an umbrella type of coverage where everything underneath it is going to be covered regardless of what that item is up to a certain amount. I can tell you personally that I recall when my mother moved once, and it's terrible how these things stick with you. She's moving and she has an antique mirror from her parents. And I remember her telling the movers, she said, okay, look, I really don't care about anything else because it's replaceable, but this mirror was from my parents. It came from Budapest. It's irreplaceable. Please be careful. She had told them up front. They had sent special packing material to box it properly, in a special way to be extra safe. All these things are done. Anyway, yeah, you can guess. As they were unloading it, they broke the mirror. And not just the glass, which would have been bad enough, but they broke the frame, right? I mean, it was never going to be able to be repaired. And I remember thinking, wow, no amount of money is going to fix this mirror. It's done, right? And this is also, I think, even with that special insurance policy that was in place, they just went based on the pounds. They said, well, the mirror weighed blah, 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 and now it was a few dollars. It was not great. So don't expect there to be great coverage for your stuff when you're moving stuff. If you have the possibility, if you can take a lot of the things that you are most concerned with and move them yourself so you can be responsible, I would recommend you do that. That might be things like photo albums. It might be things like jewelry, watches, furs. It might be some fine art. It might be who knows what is important to you. But if it's something that you have the ability to move yourself, then I would say there is no one that is going to be more careful with your stuff than you. I'll leave you with that. Good luck on your move. Let's get to the next question. It says, if my house is seriously damaged by a natural event and laws require more expensive repairs, does my homeowner's insurance pay? It's a good question as well. Understand that homeowners insurance in general, most insurance policies in general, the concept is to put you back to the position you were in before, right? Pre-loss, indemnify you. Now, if the law says, well, yeah, but we can't put it back that way because that's not the code anymore, the insurance policy doesn't say, well, okay, we'll make it better than it was before for you. They can't do that because that's not how insurance works, right? We just said insurance works by putting you back to the way things were before. However, there is a way that you can have that additional coverage, and there's something called building code upgrades or ordinance and law coverage, and it's an add-on to a lot of property, a lot of property insurance policies where they will pay above what it costs to get you back to where you were to bring you to code. Now, there are limitations. Every policy can be a little bit different. Some will give you an additional percentage above the loss amount. Some of them will give you an unlimited amount based up to your policy limits. It just depends. But it is important, especially if you are in an older home and you know if there's a loss that the home has to be rebuilt to code, which is always the case. And if your home is older and they have to do a lot of additional work to bring it to code, that amount of money is going to add up quickly. So look for it, ask for it, and be aware it is not automatically there. Building code upgrades or ordinance and law coverage, or when in doubt, ask your insurance professional the very same question. Say, hey, My home's older. I want to be sure that it can be brought up to code if there's a loss. I want that coverage, please. And you'll be able to get it. On that note, it's time for another quick break. Insurance Hour with Karl Susman, me, your host. 60 seconds, and we are back to your emails. Stand by.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just a few moments, the Window to the Magic podcast show will begin.
My name is Patrick.
My name is Calvin.
I'm Mouseketeer Greg.
My name is Paul, and I will be your guide through the wonderful world of Disney sound experiences.
This show is a weekly trip into the world of the Disney theme parks and resorts.
And this is the place where you get to use your ears to surround yourself with the magic.
For your safety, please remain seated while listening to the windowtothemagic.com podcast.
Maybe there's a name for this, something like Disnotic obsession. Please visit windowtothemagic.com for more information, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts and in the iHeart Media app.
Hello. This is Karl Susman, and you are tuned into Insurance Hour, the place where we talk about all things insurance related. Yes, insurance, your favorite topic. Who cares about watching Mr. Beast when you can talk about Mr. Insurance? Whatever. It sounded good when I was thinking about it. We're talking about your personal insurance, your business insurance, your life, health, disability, long-term care, flood, you name it. If there's an insurance policy for it or the potential for having one, then we're going to be discussing it here. We are with phone lines open and waiting for your input, so please feel free to get involved. Give us a call, 559-656-0317. You can call or text that number. You can also shoot an email over to us at questions@insurancehour.com. We will get those questions answered and back to you, which reminds me, I want to just sort of make a little disclaimer here for you. I do the best I can to give you the most accurate and up-to-date answers to your questions, but I'm not perfect. I do the best I can to give you the most accurate information that I can. I don't always hit the mark. Nobody always can. So if you hear something and it just does not ring true to you, you say, I just went through that and it worked a different way, then please reach out and let me know. Call me, 559-656-0317, or email me, questions@insurancehour.com, and say, hey, Karl, I think what you said about blah, blah, blah is wrong. What do you think? And what I will very happily do is turn around and revisit that and try and get more updated or more accurate information to you. Because my goal here is, it's not an ego thing. It's not as if I just refuse to admit if I make a mistake. I'm fine to admit I made a mistake. I'm actually